with 11:16 to go here in the third.
I mean, I've been waiting to talk about this game all offseason. I'm so glad to just be back and be able to talk about these previews, because I think this is the most interesting part about talking about these games, because these are our predictions. These are the things that we are hoping or that we think are going to happen in these games. And, man, I got a lot to talk about with this Dallas Cowboys game. So the Cowboys, they finished the year last year at 12-5 for the second straight time. The Giants finished at 9-7-1. I was hoping to get a playoff matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, but unfortunately they ended up taking on the San Francisco 49ers in the second round after taking on the Bucs, and ended up losing that game, and the Giants ended up getting dog-walked by the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the over-under in this one is 46.5. The Dallas Cowboys are favored by 3 points, even though this game is at MetLife. Kickoff is at 8:20 Sunday night. What a way to end the weekend games. The Cowboys lead the series record here, 73-48-2 over the New York Giants. And the last meeting, the Cowboys beat the Giants 28-20 on November 24th, 2022. That game was in Jerry World. Now, for the 7th time in the last 12 seasons, the New York Giants will start the season versus the Dallas Cowboys. This is a thing. I don't really like doing this to start the year off, having a tough divisional opponent come to MetLife, but it is what it is. The Dallas Cowboys are 10-1 versus the Giants in season openers all time. So we're trying to break some bad juju going on here. I ain't talking about the explosive kneecaps from Juju Smith-Schuster, but we're trying to fix this and right this ship in the right direction. The Cowboys have won 4 straight and 11 of the past 12 matchups versus the New York Giants. Dak Prescott is on a 10-game winning streak versus the Giants. Last time the Giants welcomed Dallas to MetLife, Cooper Rush ended up leading the Cowboys to a victory 23-16. So it's not just Dak Prescott. I heard Michael Irvin talking about this on the new Undisputed show, and he was saying, like, I used to just be able to suit up against Washington. It did not matter who was out there on the field to me. I didn't care if it was Darryl Green, Gary Clark, whatever, whoever we were playing against. I knew I had the edge against the Washington Redskins, formerly known as the Redskins, now known as the Commanders. And I kind of feel like Dak Prescott's probably approaching this game with the same kind of fashion, because he has owned the New York Giants. And not only has he owned the New York Giants, he's owned the NFC East in general. He's 27-7 against the NFC East in his career. It's also been 27 seasons since the Cowboys have been to the Super Bowl, so they're looking to kind of change that kind of history as well. It's been a really long time. We were children. Now, the Giants were 1-4-1 against the division last year, and we were an underdog by 3 points or more 12 times last season. We ended up winning the 7 games by 1 score. I don't think that the Giants are going to be able to win games in that fashion this year. You're going to have to really go out there and truly handle business. I think that the Minnesota Vikings are in the same kind of a boat, and they even had more games won by 1 score than we did. They had 11 wins by 1 score, so I think that they're going to have to find a way to do that too. Now, I want to talk about these defenses real quick, because the main matchup for me is going to be Evan Neal versus DeMarcus Lawrence again. For those of y'all that watched that last game, DeMarcus Lawrence, and I'm talking him when I say that, he literally owned my man Evan Neal both times in that season. Neal gave up 3 sacks in the last matchup. He allowed 5 quarterback pressures from DeMarcus Lawrence in that game, and PFF had Evan Neal ranked as the 80th, I'm going to say worst offensive tackle in the entire league. Now, DeMarcus Lawrence has 10 sacks in 15 games against the New York Giants. So I think it's going to start up front in the trenches. And y'all know me, I'm glorified by the skill positions because I played the skill positions. I was a quarterback, wide receiver. So I'm infatuated with offense and skill positions for the most part. This particular game, if the Giants want to have a shot at this one, they're going to have to own the trenches. Now, we talked about DeMarcus Lawrence, who is technically on the weaker side of that defensive front, because we know Micah Parsons, 13.5 sacks last season. Now, will the Cowboys move Micah Parsons around? Because last time we matched up against them, they kept him right on Andrew Thomas on the left side for most of the game. So they were putting their best versus our best. And even though Micah Parsons is like a smaller stature edge rusher kind of type of player, he was showing power against Andrew Thomas. So Micah Parsons, we all know this dude is one of the best players, if not the best defensive player in the league. He's been the runner-up to the Defensive Player of the Year twice now. I know he's looking, he tweeted out that he's looking for a Super Bowl ring, but he's also probably looking for a Defensive Player of the Year as well. Now, Micah Parsons, he looks to join Reggie White as the only players with at least 13 sacks in each of their first 3 seasons. So these are ridiculous numbers to be even in the same conversation with a guy like Reggie White. Me and the Beard are old enough to have been able to watch Reggie White back in the day. He straight up terrorized offensive lines throughout pretty much his whole entire career. Now, the Cowboys defense, they allowed just 19.1 points per game last season. That's really good. We're going to have to find a way to put up more than 20 points in this game if we want to win this one. The Cowboys also led the league in takeaways, and they led the league in quarterback pressures. Guess who was dead last in the NFL with allowed quarterback pressures?
I'm going to say New York Giants.
The New York Giants. So we're definitely going to have to find a way to protect Daniel Jones in this game. I think Daniel Jones has gotten much better at getting rid of the ball. The way that he's decisive now, making his decisions. We saw a great outing in the preseason where he went 8 for 9, put the ball in the end zone. I'm looking for a drive to start the game off like that. The Cowboys added Stephon Gilmore as another cornerback over there to go to pair with Trayvon Diggs. This is going to be a nightmare matchup for the New York Giants. They're going to have to find a way to wake up from this dream and have the Dallas Cowboys apologizing, and walk away with this one with the victory. The Giants need to find a way to stop the run. And I'm starting with the defenses because I got a ton to talk about with these offenses. We allowed 146 yards per game on the ground last year, and we got to limit the big play. Tony Pollard last year, Dallas ran for 345 yards in 2 games last season against the Giants. 821 total yards against our New York Giants. That is not a way to win games. That is not winning football from a defensive standpoint. I know we dealt with a lot of injuries last year. We lost to Dory Jackson for a little while. We lost Xavier McKinney when he flipped the ATV in Cabo and whatnot. And this year, we're coming into this year pretty damn healthy. But I am worried about another portion of that defense. I'm definitely going to get to that. Now, Tony Pollard, 5.2 yards per carry last year. That ranked 3rd in the NFL. And he averaged 5.9 yards per touch, which was number 1 in the NFL. The Giants got to find a way to get pressure on Dak Prescott. Now, some news came out this past, actually just today and this past week. Left guard Tyler Smith, he's dealing with an injury. And left tackle Tyron Smith. They got Tyler and Tyron Smith on. This is just ridiculous right here.
The Smith brothers. Mr. and Mr. Smith.
It's really ridiculous. And I saw Vach and William Steele was talking about this on their podcast. They're not that confident in the 2 other backups that are going to be filling in, especially in the interior of their offensive line. But they were confident enough to say that they could get through this Giants game with a couple of injuries here, and they're expecting a win. I even saw William Steele talk about this in his chat. When he was breaking down the game, he looked at the Giants fans that were in there pretty much like surprised at the takes and the way that they were going. Like, what do y'all expect from the Dallas Cowboys? You're talking about a quarterback on a 10-game winning streak, right? And you have a team that has dominated not only the NFC East, but truly have dominated the New York Giants. So they should be coming into this game confident. I'm not saying my New York Giants confidence should be wavered, but the Dallas Cowboys should be coming into this game extremely confident, especially with a healthy Dak Prescott. Now, you got the addition of Brandon Cooks on that offense to pair with CeeDee Lamb, and now Michael Gallup coming off of 1 year, 2 years now, we'll say, removed off the knee injury. You should see a better Michael Gallup. And I don't know if you remember how Michael Gallup torched the New York Giants last time. It was pretty embarrassing. So now that he's even more healthy, you should look for Michael Gallup to even play a bigger role in this offense. They still got Noah Brown out there as well. And they also got a young wide receiver. I can't remember his name, but a lot of people are high on this kid coming out of camp. Now, the Giants will be focused on stopping CeeDee Lamb, number 1, who's going to operate from the slot position. And that's why I think you've seen Adoree Jackson get moved to the slot cornerback entering this game. I don't know if that's going to be permanent or how long that's going to last, but I think it'll be on a case-by-case type of situation for Adoree Jackson. And this is the part that worries me. We're going to have 2 rookies out there on the outside. Brandon Cooks, I'm worried about him now. I think he's going to be able to eat in this game. You're going to have Adoree in the slot trying to take care of CeeDee Lamb, but that's going to be an interesting matchup because CeeDee Lamb is a baller. I don't even know if Adoree Jackson is going to be able to really just hold down, CeeDee Lamb in this game. But Brandon Cooks is the one that worries me. He's trying to become the first NFL wide receiver to get a 1,000-yard season with 5 different teams.
That's crazy.
That really makes no sense. And that's one of my concerns, right? But I think that the other major concern for me is, that the Dallas Cowboys lost their tight end to free agency, but a lot of people aren't talking about Jake Ferguson enough. I think that matchup is going to give the Giants problems, especially with all the other things going around that offense on the Dallas Cowboys that the New York Giants got to pay attention to. So it's gonna be up to Xavier McKinney, I think, to be able to step up and Bobby O to step up and take care of what Jake Ferguson brings to the table here as far as offensively. Now, Ferguson had his best game against the New York Giants last year, and that was as a backup tight end. He had 3 receptions for 57 yards versus the Giants. The Giants struggled against tight ends all last year. They gave up 106 receptions and 1,140 yards and 8 touchdowns to tight ends last year. So that's something I'm definitely worried about. Now, before I get off into my Dak Prescott bag and my Daniel Jones bag, What are you thinking about this game so I don't get too long-winded with my assessment of this one?
Well, it's funny because, you had something written down about the Commanders, and I have something written down that you mentioned, and that's Brandon Cooks. To me, that's going to be the X factor offensively for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm really curious to see how the Giants are going to defend Brandon Cooks because he's got speed. He's definitely got some speed, but he has a lot of versatility. There's a lot of things that Brandon Cooks can do. But to me, it's going to come down to how they defend Brandon Cooks. He was definitely on my paper. I also am curious to see, we talked a little bit about this in the stat and season prediction show last on Tuesday. But I'm curious to see what the run-to-pass ratio is going to be for the New York Giants offense. That's one of the things that we're talking about things that we got our eyes on for this first week. And then obviously, as the weeks progress, it's a little bit easier for us to dissect the play on the field, the numbers, and those sort of situations. But for me, week one, I'm really curious to see what that pass-to-run ratio is going to look like for the New York Giants. How much are they going to let Daniel Jones just go? That to me is what's going to be huge. Obviously, the Darren Waller situation is going to be on everybody's eyes because I'm on record as saying that to me is probably I'm a big Bieniemy as an offseason move, but player acquisitions, whether it's free agents or trade, to me is number one offseason move player-wise. Outside of the only one that I think can really compare as far as immediate impact would be Aaron Rodgers. Now, outside of that, Darren Waller to me
glad you brought that up.
is just I'm that high on Waller. If you guys have ever watched us talk about it on the parlay, when Waller's healthy, he is a Travis Kelce. He is a Mark Andrews. He is a George Kittle.
I like George Kittle. I like that, but I can't put no one in that Travis Kelce class. I can't.
I mean, we'll put Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes don't get to be in rankings, I guess, anymore. But so we'll say but he's up there, top 3, tight end when he's healthy.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Obviously that's something that I'm going to keep my eye on 100%. I think the turnover battle is going to be a deciding factor also. Because when we talk about the Cowboys and we talk about the Giants, no matter what year it is, no matter what part of the season, we're always talking about turnovers, right?
Yeah.
Who can force the turnovers? Who can not have the turnovers? That's going to be a big.
These are
big
two teams on the
here.
opposite end of the spectrum too. Dallas has led the league in takeaways for 2 straight seasons, and no one has done that
so
since
hard.
1970.
Exactly.
That's how long that's been. The New York Giants, when it comes to takeaways defensively, we're down at the bottom of the league.
Like Washington.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, are the Giants going to be able to force some turnovers? And if they do let Daniel Jones loose, is he going to be able to continue what he was doing last year in protecting the ball? And to me, that's going to be a big.
What does your gut
factor.
tell you on that? As far as the season goes, you think when they let Daniel Jones loose that the turnovers are going to increase by a decent margin, or do you think he's going to be able to keep the interceptions down at least in single digits and fumbles as well? He only lost 2 fumbles last year and had 5 interceptions, so he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL when we're speaking on recent history here. Daniel Jones had the best touchdown-interception ratio of any quarterback last year. His interception percentage was number 1. So, do you think he's going to be able to sustain that while they open up this offense that was 50-50 pass-to-run ratio last year?
I think he can. But to me, this is the thing that you have to look at, right? It's very easy to look at the interceptions being low when somebody's not passing as much as, some of the other quarterbacks are in this league. So by default, I think naturally, unless you're like a top 3 quarterback, the more passes that you throw, the more likelihood that your interception numbers are going to go up. I think as long as the ratio of touchdown to interceptions stays the same as last year, then it's not necessarily a problem.
For sure. If you're throwing 30 and you put up 10 interceptions, that's pretty much that. At 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions,
and
3-1.
I think that's where I would probably see Daniel Jones in this season. If he were to throw 30 touchdowns, I think he'll be around the 10 interception mark, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I'm going more like 24-ish, 25. And I'm not going to give you like a Tiki Barber answer, right? Because Tiki Barber's answers be like this. Yeah, he can be a top 10 quarterback. He could be a top 5 quarterback, right? I'm going to tell you what I think Daniel Jones will do. I think he's going to increase the touchdowns, but I don't think that it's going to result in more turnovers. I don't.
I think he's going to keep it at 3-1 pretty much for this entire season. I think he's going to probably be around 25 to 29 touchdowns, somewhere around there. I think that he has the weapons around him now to be able to do so. Last year, he did a great job taking care of the ball. The thing about Daniel Jones is he's not just going to wake up and start taking crazy risks.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Especially
still going to be that conservative style quarterback.
And I think that's the thing you mentioned too about the weapons is the last thing I had down on this for the New York Giants was I'm curious to see the rotation of the wideouts. I think that's something that's going to be very interesting because there is some depth at the wide receiver position for the New York Giants.
Now, they might only dress 5, which is really interesting, you know, because Cole Beasley's dealing with an injury. As far as Jones goes, right, I wanted to break down some of the games that he's played against the Dallas Cowboys. So Jones has played 5 full games against the Dallas Cowboys. He's been sacked 17 times within those games. 8 times he's been sacked in 2 games a year ago. So Slayton, Hodgins, Campbell. Every time I say Hodgins, I forget Campbell. That's what it is. So Slayton, Hodgins, Campbell, Shepard, Hyatt. Appreciate that. Mike Jones one time in the building. So 5 full games. Let's get back to this. 5 full games, 17 sacks in 5 full games. He sacked 8 times in 2 games. So the offensive line is definitely a big problem. You got to keep Daniel Jones upright. In 5 games versus Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones has 2 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions in those games. He's averaging 34 attempts in those 5 games, but just 217 passing yards. I know how you were talking about, man, it's easy to get to 225 passing yards. This dude has thrown it 34 times on average in those games, only averaging 217 passing yards. That's 6 yards per attempt. That's not going to get it done. I think a lot of that has to do with what's happening up front with the offensive line, and also we could blame some of what happened with the weapons last year, obviously. Last year, he averaged 36 passes in the 2 games versus the Dallas Cowboys. He averaged 28 attempts in every other game in the other 14 games. So, because he didn't play the last week of the season. Last game against the in the 2020 regular season finale, Jones went 17-25 for 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Like, that was probably his best game against the Dallas Cowboys, to be honest. A lot of people will look back at some of those, like, punishing losses that we had in the recent losses, but I think that was probably his best game. And I can remember a throw on the sideline that Daniel Jones made where he rolled all the way to his left and threw the ball on the sidelines, very similar to the Isaiah Hodgins reception in the playoffs against the Minnesota Vikings, toe tap right on this perfect throw. And I was like, oh, Daniel, I added that to the repertoire. Like, Daniel can make that throw as well. To me, that kind of rounded Daniel Jones off as being a quarterback who can pretty much make all the throws. Now, 28 explosive pass plays for the New York Giants last year. Where do you think that ranked?
I'm going to say 28th.
Dead last. 32nd in the NFL. And I just think that when you talk about the quarterback matchups across the league and whatnot, when we do top 10 conversations and things like that, you know, you got to take into consideration, obviously, a quarterback's weapons. Tiki Barber said something on WFAN on this same podcast I watched that I thought was a little wild. He said, I would take Daniel Jones over Dak Prescott 100 out of 100 times. Now, he talked about this going into the future a little bit, kind of cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, backtracked a little.
Now, I don't know if you could do that because, yes, we know that Daniel Jones has not had the weapons around him and whatnot, and he's definitely dragging this team along with him. He's had the good weapon at the running back position when healthy, obviously. But that's about it. And Dak Prescott, throughout the majority of his career, has had a stable running game, stable wide receivers, obviously a stable offensive line. And last year was the first time we really got to see Dak Prescott without those major weapons, and his numbers really took a hit, and we saw that. It kind of reminded me of Aaron Rodgers. When you removed Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers' numbers kind of went back down to, you know, now I wouldn't say pedestrian, but for Aaron Rodgers, they were definitely not the numbers we're used to. Now, Daniel Jones, I got to end this with a positive one for Daniel Jones here. He did play well at home last year. 16 total touchdowns when you include the rushing ones, which I'm going to always do when I talk about Daniel Jones' touchdowns, so y'all don't come for me. And just 3 interceptions last year at MetLife. So he does play well. That gives me some confidence with the home crowd there. They're doing the whole blue out. Everybody's going to be in blue.
He got his first win in prime time last year,
And
right?
he got his first win in prime time last year, sitting at 1-11. I would love to see him increase that primetime record. I think Daniel Jones now is a much more confident, much more, he has a little bit of moxie to him now. You know, he today he was on the Kay Adams podcast on YouTube. I recommend all y'all subscribe to that. He's going to be on that podcast every Tuesday after the games, breaking down what he saw, what he went through and all that. That's going to be great insight for New York Giants fans. But during that interview, he just seemed like a much more relaxed guy. You know, the stuttering Daniel Jones that you got in the press conferences and whatnot, twisting the beer hairs and doing all that stuff. He's not doing that. He seems like a much more confident quarterback. You can tell he bulked up and he hit the weight room as well. And I think Daniel Jones is going to go out here and show you that he is still on the incline as a quarterback. A lot of people who saw my top 10 video that I released, I did not have Daniel Jones in the top 10, and a lot of people had beef with that, not agreeing with what Greg Jennings has said on FS1. I just think that what Greg Jennings is projecting here is that Daniel Jones is going to be a top 10 quarterback, and that is my expectation this year with the new weapons and with the maturation of what Daniel Jones has done. So I'm expecting Daniel Jones to come out here Sunday night, put this team on his back, make this a competitive game here, and show that we are closing the gap with the Dallas Cowboys. And if not closing it, we're going to close it on Sunday night. We shall see. Now, the things that I question, you brought up Darren Waller. I'm questioning the impact of Darren Waller. A lot of people, when I posted the stat video that we did, when they saw my numbers for Darren Waller, I believe it was like around 800 yards. I had him for 4 touchdowns, and I had him at like 75 receptions. People were like, if he stays healthy, he's going to get 1,000 yards. And this is the word that I cannot stand that people use on Twitter. Easily. What the hell you mean easily? Nothing comes easy in the NFL. There's no easy in the NFL. Yo, when you say easily, you know how confident you look and how condescending you look? So for me, I don't think just staying healthy throughout the whole entire season is not going to be anything easily for Darren Waller. This dude has been hurt the last 2 seasons. He's missed 14 games over the last 2 years. He has been a quiet tight end when it comes to productivity from that position from the past 2 years. That's the bottom line. He has 1 season where he has 9 touchdowns. People are telling me, he's going to get 10 touchdowns easily. He's had 1 season with 9 touchdowns. When you remove that 1 season, he has not breached 3 touchdowns in 1 single season. So don't tell me easily. I'm not saying that this stuff cannot happen, but when you say easily, I got to look at you a little bit sideways and give you some Keenan looks for real. I got to keep it funky with you. The other thing I got to think about here is how will Tony Pollard fare without Zeke Elliott? Does he have the capability to be the main running back out there? Can Jalen Hyatt come out here and take the top off the Dallas Cowboys defense week 1? I think we're going to need it. If you look back at the last matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, you will remember that Darius Slayton had the big plays down the field against the Dallas Cowboys where he had a 50-50 ball. He jumped up and grabbed, got us right down to the goal line, set us up for a touchdown, and we still did not manage to win that game. So I think it's going to take at least 2 explosive plays in the passing game for the New York Giants to have a chance in this one. I also got to think about, will Daniel Jones raise his level of play now that he has the weapons? This is the answer that everyone is waiting for. And I get people who come into my comments on Twitter and they're like, you're wrong on Daniel Jones not being elite. Well, I'm like, show me the proof. Because right now I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. He's an above-average quarterback for sure. He can go out there and he can win you games. And honestly, that's all you can ask for in the NFL because these other guys out here who are in the elite category, which I might have definitely not over one hand, I'm counting that on, as elite quarterbacks in the NFL. There's probably 2 or 3 guys on that list. I don't look at Lamar Jackson as an elite quarterback right now. I don't look at Jalen Hurts as an elite quarterback right now after 1 season. I look at my man Patrick Mahomes. I look at Aaron Rodgers, and I kind of want to put Josh Allen in that mix. I don't think Joe Burrow's an elite quarterback yet either. I think he's got a lot more to prove.
2 seasons.
He's gave you 2 seasons, but to me, 2 seasons doesn't warrant elite. But everybody does have their own definition of elite, just like for franchise quarterbacks. So I respect that. I definitely respect that. I'm not here to try to change nobody's opinion. I'm only here to try to state my own. Now, the other thing is I'm looking for the same formula that you're looking for, the Beard. I need an early lead from my New York Giants. We cannot be playing from behind in this game. If you put the ball in Daniel Jones' hands from behind against the Dallas Cowboys, that's going to force him to throw the ball, and I think that's going to force him to throw an interception or make a mistake, which we've seen in the last 2 outings against Dak Prescott. So I'm looking to get the early lead. Put the pressure on the Dallas Cowboys. Get them down by 2 scores. Try to see that window and then put the nail in the coffin on them, right? Enter the 3rd quarter with a lead in this game, and I think Brian Daboll's going to do everything in his power to put this game away from a coaching standpoint. I still think that this offense is going to operate through one man. I think it all still has to run through my man Saquon Barkley. I really do. And let's take a look at the numbers versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I did remove the game where Saquon Barkley got injured early in the first half, where he turned his ankle in that game against the Dallas Cowboys, to come up with these numbers here. And I just want to get the exact game numbers. It's in 7 games against the Dallas Cowboys where Saquon Barkley does not have a win against the Dallas Cowboys, obviously because Dak Prescott has been 10-0 the last couple of outings here. So Saquon, to me, he's averaging 83.5 rushing yards per game against the Cowboys, 4.5 yards per rush, but this is the number that bothers me. The attempts per game is just not high enough. 13.2 tells me that the New York Giants are falling behind on the scoreboard early in these games, and they're forced to throw the ball, and that's when the New York Giants are not as dangerous as I feel like they could be, especially with the new weapons that have been brought in. Saquon Barkley has not had a 100-yard rushing game against the Dallas Cowboys since 2019. So we got to find a way to fix that. Last year, my beef with the coaching staff was in the first half of games, they wouldn't run the ball. They were trying to save so much gas for the second half that Saquon Barkley would have games where he only had 4 touches in the first half, which you could look at the Philadelphia Eagles playoff massacre as one of those games. He only had 9 carries in that game, and he only had 9 carries against the Minnesota Vikings as well. I want to get back to the identity, which is Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and the read option. I do want to use that as our identity again. Be able to use this RPO to open up guys like Darren Waller down the field and set up those one-on-one matchups, but I still think it's going to run through my man Saquon Barkley. So we got to find a way to get that attempt number over 15 for me at least. The Beard be wanting 30 as a unit, right? I don't know what's going to happen as far as the backup running backs go for New York, but for my man Saquon Barkley, get him over at least 15 carries on the day, and I think we'll have a shot at winning this game.
What about receptions?
Receptions, you could go, man, for 4. I'll settle for 4. A modest 4.
They want 15 rush attempts and 10 catches in the chat.
I mean, 10 catches would be a little bit wild. 10 catches, you add that up through a 17-game season. Good luck. That's going to be a lot of receptions. I'm looking at give me 4 receptions. Give me about 7 targets, 6 targets on the day. If you got to check the ball down, check the ball down. I'm looking for Daniel Jones to be safe in this game. So if that, presents the opportunity where Saquon Barkley will get some more attempts in the passing game, then that's cool with me too. But this is to me, a lot of people have been trying to dismiss this, right? Oh, it's okay if the Giants go out there and they lose this one, It's not.
Losing is not okay, no matter what.
This is our first divisional game of the year. We don't have another divisional game until we come to see them Washington Commanders. We're going to welcome them up there to MetLife, week 7. So we got to go 6 more weeks without playing another division game. You better jump on it. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are going to come out here ready to go. With a win on Sunday, Prescott will tie Danny White for 4th most wins amongst all quarterbacks in Cowboys history. I'm sure he's looking to etch his name in the history books a little bit more.
Prime time. We're talking prime time. The world is going to be watching.
Yeah.
There's going to be listen, no matter what outcome this game has, and you talked about it, the pressure that these two quarterbacks are on, no matter what happens in this game, Monday morning, somebody's going to be on the wrong side of that bed when it comes to the conversations. Unless both quarterbacks, we go and it's like a 42-41 and, nobody throws any interceptions and they put up these gaudy numbers, that would be the only scenario. But if there is any slip-ups from either one of these quarterbacks on prime time Sunday night football,
it's going to be all over your TV screen on Monday.
All over. All over.
Now, before we close this one out, let's go to a couple over-unders here before we give our predictions on the game and whatnot. Let's start with Dak Prescott because we know that the whole topic of conversation here after leading the league in interceptions is Dak Prescott going to come out here and throw an interception? I thought about putting this at 1.5, but I said, man, let's just, try to see if he can present a clean slate here entering the 2023 season. Chat, what do y'all think about Dak Prescott over or under 0.5 interceptions? Do you think he's going to throw one? Do you think he's going to finish this game without throwing one? Maybe a 41-42 win for the New York Giants, and Dak Prescott doesn't throw an interception. Chat, let me know what y'all thinking. Beard, how you feeling about this one?
Oh, you already know where I'm going. I'm going with the big O.
Going right towards the hate?
Over. Yeah. I'm taking the over for sure. And listen, this isn't even necessarily just on Dak, but I don't know this number for sure, so don't quote me on it, okay? But I'm just going off of, hypothetical, the way that the Beard's brain works. Is I bet you that there is more interceptions thrown in week 1 historically in the NFL than there are any other weeks in the season.
Oh, I got to go check that out. I'm going to definitely do some digging on that. That's a good one. That's a good little project to do some digging on. I always like those, man, do a lot of research and whatnot. I'm going to take the under on this one. I think, when you come out there and there's an emphasis on, bro, don't throw no interceptions. This is like Daniel Jones. Like, after 2019, bro, don't fumble the ball, bro. So you're going to go out there, you're going to be conscious of it. I think Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are going to rely on the run, too. I think another thing to consider here as well is what kind of formations are the Dallas Cowboys going to come out in with Mike McCarthy calling the plays now? There's a bit of a mystery as to what Mike McCarthy is going to do as far as calling these plays offensively. And best believe, if Mike McCarthy comes out here and falls flat, he's going to get a ton of blame and he's going to be on the hot seat week 1 right off the bat.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? This kind of brings everything back a little bit full circle with Zeke and Pollard. How has Tony Pollard, because I love Tony Pollard as a running back. He's explosive. The guy can do tons of stuff. How has he improved his his pass blocking? And how much is that going to affect the Dallas Cowboys offense and Dak not having
important.
Zeke to be back there doing the pass protection from the running back position?
He was getting pushed around for sure. And while we wait for some of these answers to come in about the over-under, let's get to some of these super chats one time, man. Shout out to homie Crypto Moves.
Crypto Moves with a $4.20. That's cryptic. Super chat says, welcome back in the building. Ready to smoke that Dallas pack.
Yeah, that in the building, I might want to copyright that thing and patent that thing, because I remember somebody last year was like, I'm going to count how many times my man Authentic says in the building during this stream. It had to be about a good 40, 45, because Giants Nation, y'all know how we do. We in the building, man. That's how we do. And we got one more from the homie OBX Picker. Shout out to gang.
Big shout out to my guy, OBX Picker, with a $1.99 super chat. Says, what's up, fellas? Fins up. Shout out to our boy Lucas, too. He's also a Dolphins fan. It's always good to see all these people come from different fan bases. Joe Deals being in the building. He's a Bears fan. So we get some Texans fans in here. We get some Jaguars fans in here. That might just be me I'm talking about, but, we'll see.
Yeah, you low-key a Jaguars, Bengals, Texans. You low-key root for all those teams. I only root for one squad, the NFL. One squad and one squad only, them New York Giants. Y'all know what it is, man. All right, I got one more over-under. We are pushing up against this clock one time. We definitely want to get y'all out of here before kickoff. I think my fantasy lineup is all good to go and all set. Travis Kelce not playing in this game. That's going to be kind of tough. What you think about this over-under right here for the homie Daniel Jones, over 212.5 passing yards one time? Chat, let me know what y'all think, too.
Well, for me, the way I got this game kind of ending up, 212, that's a $1.06 in each half, $1.07. I'm going to go over. Just over.
I'm right there with you. I'm right
just
there with
over.
you, man. I'm definitely going on
to
the over.
225, I think.
He's going to have to pass the ball to keep up with what I'm expecting from the Dallas Cowboys, which is going to be a lot of offense, man. I think Cowboys are going to put up 24 points in this game. So if the Giants want to try to win this one, you better breach that 24, 1,000%. Y'all know what it is. All right, Beard, let's get off into this, man. We're going to get off into this Chiefs and Lions matchup.
We got to give our winners.
We do got to give our winners. I was trying to avoid that, bro.
I know you were.
Damn.
Because
how you do that to me?
Because on Tuesday you was talking about
yeah, and I saw what you was talking about. You like Giants fans gonna like my pick. I know who you going with. All right, tell them who you going with one time.
We're gonna start off the Dallas hate bright and early here at Authentic in the Beard. I'm gonna take the New York Football Giants to put an end to all those tens that Authentic was talking about.
Them tens and them tens.
All them tens. We're going to put an end to all the tens.
I keep them clean, though.
It's going to be 23-21 New York Giants take the win.
Too low, man. Too low.
It's
21 points from the Dallas Cowboys
man.
week one. The Dallas Cowboys have not fared well opening day for the past couple of years, too, man. They had a bad performance last year.
Tough opening games.
Yeah, they saw the Bucks in 2020, I remember. Yeah. You know what, man? There's no way I'm going to let the Beard pick my New York Giants, and I'm going to not pick my New York Giants. So y'all know what it is. I'm going with the game, man. That's what's up. We need this win. Week one, you got to be confident. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say it's going to be, can the Giants put up 30 points week one? That would be pretty interesting. I don't think we'll quite get to 30. I'm going to go.
There's a lot of people in the chat that think so.
I'm going to go with a close, tight game. I'm going 26-24 New York Giants.